Have you ever noticed that hate doesn't always come crashing through the door? Sometimes it slips in quietly, hidden in a smirk, a whispered comment, or a subtle insult designed to cut a little deeper than you'd like to admit. And the truth is, most people fall into the same trap. They fight back loud, messy, desperate, exactly what their enemy wanted. But here's where Stoicism flips the script. A Stoic doesn't scream. A Stoic doesn't beg to be understood. A Stoic doesn't waste endless energy trying to prove his worth to someone who has already decided to misunderstand him. Real strength isn't in the noise. It's in the silence that slices deeper than any insult, in the discipline that stands taller than any revenge plan, and in the quiet growth that no one can touch. Because the harshest defeat is never public, it's private. It's when your enemy watches you rise untouched, while their bitterness chains them to the same place. That's why in this video, I'm going to share with you 9 powerful ways to master that calm kind of revenge, the kind that ends the fight without ever lifting your voice, the kind that ensures they'll think twice before ever coming near you again. So if you're ready to stop bleeding energy into conflict and instead learn how to win in silence, this is your moment. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and let's walk together into a kind of strength the world can't shake. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who seemed to feed on your frustration? The kind of person who doesn't just argue with you, but baits you, provokes you, and stirs up chaos. Not because they enjoy noise, but because they know if they can drag you into it, they win. That's the game of hateful people. They don't always need to beat you with facts, money, or power. All they really need is your reaction. The moment you snap, shout, defend yourself endlessly, or lose your temper, you've already handed them the victory. Your reaction becomes their fuel, their proof that they still have access to your peace of mind. And this is where most people lose, not in the offense itself, but in the emotional toll of constantly responding. Every tantrum, every rumor, every jab at your character is designed with one purpose: to pull you into the mud. And if you step into the mud with them, you've already lowered yourself to their battlefield. The Stoic answer is brutally simple. You outlast them, not by shouting louder, not by throwing back your own accusations, not by exhausting yourself trying to set the record straight. You win by starving them of what they crave most: your reaction. Think about a fire. Flames don't die because you punch them, or because you argue with them. Flames die when you deny them oxygen. Hatred works the same way. When you refuse to engage, when you watch calmly and continue to tend to your own life, you strip your enemy of their weapon. There's an old story about a man who lived next to a neighbor filled with bitterness. Day after day, the neighbor insulted him, spread rumors, even damaged his property just to get a rise out of him. And yet, the man never responded. He simply repaired what was broken, kept tending his garden, and carried on with his work in steady calm. Over the years, something interesting happened. The neighbor became more and more frustrated, bitter that his attacks never landed. Eventually, it wasn't the calm man who was destroyed. It was the neighbor, consumed by his own hatred. Why? Because hate, when it has nowhere to go, begins to eat the person who carries it. This is why the Stoics saw endurance as strength. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That line is more than just philosophy, it's a survival strategy. Your enemy can't touch your mind unless you hand it over willingly. Now let's get practical. The next time someone tries to provoke you, whether it's a colleague undermining you in a meeting, a family member tossing backhanded comments at the dinner table, or even a stranger online throwing shade, pause. Notice the bait. Ask yourself, if I react, who really wins here? Instead of explaining, arguing, or defending, let your silence do the talking. Let your consistent actions become your voice. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep living with integrity. Because nothing enrages a hateful person more than seeing you rise untouched while they waste away in their bitterness. It's not easy. Every part of you wants to clap back, to set the record straight, to expose their lies. But here's the truth. Arguing with a bitter person is like wrestling with mud. Even if you win, you walk away dirty. The wiser path is not to step into the pit at all. I'll tell you from my own life, the moments I've chosen not to respond ended up being my greatest victories. I remember a time when someone I trusted tried to undermine my reputation, spreading half-truths and outright lies. For weeks, people kept asking, "Aren't you going to say something? Aren't you going to fight back?" And I'll admit, it burned inside me to stay quiet. But I chose silence. I kept working. I kept building. A year later, the results spoke louder than any defense I could have made. My silence became my weapon. My progress was my revenge. And that's the lesson here. To outlast chaos is to choose clarity over conflict. It's to understand that the person who shouts the loudest is rarely the strongest. The strongest person is the one who doesn't need to shout at all. Ask yourself, do I want to spend my days reacting to every stone thrown my way? Or do I want to build something permanent with the calm discipline only I can control? Because here's the paradox. When you stop feeding chaos with your attention, you don't just survive it, you reverse it. Their bitterness becomes their own prison. Your silence becomes your freedom. And once you taste that kind of power, you'll never go back to wasting your energy on petty battles. You'll realize that the greatest revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's living in a way that makes their hatred irrelevant. So the next time someone comes for you, don't flinch, don't explain, don't hand them your peace. Let them throw their stones into the void. While they break themselves against their own anger, you'll be building something they can never touch. Your stillness, your growth, your life. That is how you outlast chaos. One of the easiest traps to fall into, one that almost all of us have stepped into at some point, is the endless cycle of explaining ourselves. You know what I mean? Someone challenges your decisions, questions your motives, twists your words, and suddenly you feel cornered. You rush into long defenses, clarifications, justifications, all because you think if you just explain clearly enough, they'll finally understand. But here's the hard truth. Most of the time, they don't actually want to understand you. They want access to your mind. And the more you explain, the more you hand them the keys. It feels harmless at first. You think, I'll just clear this up and it'll be over. But what happens? They twist your words again. They dig deeper. They make you feel like you owe them constant clarity. And before you know it, you're stuck in a courtroom where you're both the defendant and the witness, pleading your case to someone who never had the right to be judged in the first place. Psychologists call this a form of coercive control. It doesn't attack your body, it attacks your certainty. Every time you explain, you unknowingly confirm their power. They don't want the truth, they want the upper hand. And that's why explaining yourself endlessly isn't communication, it's surrender. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus put it in a single line. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. In other words, live so clearly, with such consistency, that your actions speak for you. Silence paired with integrity is stronger than any argument. Think about it. To someone trying to bait you, your silence feels like defeat. They can't manipulate what they can't reach. They can't twist words that were never spoken. And that drives them crazy, because the power they wanted, the power to live inside your head, is denied. I remember a story about a man whose co-workers constantly spread rumors about him. Instead of chasing every false story, he never once explained himself. He just kept showing up early, doing his work with discipline, and treating people with quiet respect. Months passed, and something interesting happened. While the gossipers were exposed for their laziness and dishonesty, his reputation grew stronger without him saying a single word. His life had become the evidence. His character had become the defense. And that's what I want you to think about in your own life. How many hours have you wasted trying to defend yourself to people who were never interested in the truth? How many times have you poured energy into explanations that only left you more drained? The Stoic solution is simple, but it's not easy. You stop explaining. Not because you're cold, not because you're arrogant, but because you know your peace is more valuable than someone else's approval. You choose to live in such a way that your integrity, your consistency, your results speak louder than your words ever could. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." He wasn't suggesting weakness. He was pointing to discipline, the kind of strength that refuses to be baited. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you've decided your energy is better spent on living well than on defending yourself against lies. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine someone accuses you unfairly at work. The instinct is to defend yourself, to go around explaining to everyone that you're not what they claim. But in doing that, you've already lost. You've confirmed the rumor was powerful enough to deserve your time. The wiser move: keep working. Let your performance, your consistency, your results speak for you. People may doubt words, but they can't doubt evidence they see with their own eyes. This doesn't mean you never clarify anything to anyone. It means you choose carefully. You don't spend your life in defense mode for people committed to misunderstanding you. You protect your peace. You conserve your energy for what matters. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And delay in this sense is the refusal to give instant explanations, instant reactions, instant surrender. The less you explain, the more you reclaim your freedom. Because here's the truth: your life is not a courtroom. You are not required to stand trial in front of strangers. You don't owe an explanation to people who have proven they don't care about the truth. The moment you stop explaining yourself to them, you'll feel something shift inside you. A weight lifted, a clarity returned, a sense of freedom you may not have felt in years. I've lived this myself. I once spent months trying to justify my decisions to someone close to me who was determined to twist everything I said. No matter how carefully I explained, it was never enough. One day, I stopped. I didn't give a speech. I didn't write a long message. I simply lived my life. And that's when I learned something profound. The less you explain, the more powerful you feel. The silence itself became my protection. So the next time someone demands you explain yourself, pause. Ask, do they really want the truth, or do they just want control? If the answer is the second, then give them nothing. Let your actions be your reply. Let your character be your evidence, because the strongest man is not the one who defends himself against every false story. The strongest man is the one who lives so clearly, with such discipline, that no defense is even necessary. Let me ask you something. Why do you think people gossip so much about others? Why do they spend hours speculating about your choices, your relationships, your success, or your failures? It's simple. Because they're standing still. When someone isn't moving forward in their own life, they fill the silence of their stagnation with stories about yours. And you've probably felt this before. Maybe at work, people whisper about your promotion. Maybe in your family, someone creates drama around your decisions. Maybe online, strangers write whole narratives about you based on a single post. It can feel unfair. It can make you want to defend yourself. But here's the truth. None of that noise can stop you, unless you let it. The Stoic way is not to chase down every rumor or defend yourself against every whisper. The Stoic way is elevation. Instead of fighting the mud, you rise above it. Instead of arguing about who you are, you become so clear in your growth that their words collapse under the weight of your results. Marcus Aurelius put it best. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. In other words, don't get lost in explanations. Don't waste energy trying to fix the stories others invent. Live in such a way that your life answers the question for you. Think about it this way. When people speculate, they want a reaction. They want your attention. They want you to care enough about their opinion to step off your path and address it. But when you don't, when you keep building, keep moving, keep expanding your life, their whispers start to sound small, distant, irrelevant. I once knew a man who was constantly targeted by gossip in his community. People made up stories about his business, about his family, even about his faith. At first, he tried to correct them. He spent endless nights explaining, defending, trying to prove the rumors wrong. And you know what happened? The gossip only grew stronger. But one day, he stopped. He shifted all that energy into building his business, into raising his kids with integrity, into focusing on his own life. Within a few years, his success was undeniable. The rumors didn't just fade, they became laughable in the shadow of his growth. He didn't silence his critics with arguments, he silenced them with results. That's the essence of Stoic victory. You don't waste your breath arguing. you conserve your breath for action. Because the truth is, gossip thrives only in the absence of visible growth. When your life is stagnant, their speculation has room to grow. But when your life is expanding, mentally, spiritually, financially, their words simply can't keep up. Here's the psychological twist. When you respond to gossip with anger, you confirm its power. When you chase down every false narrative, you shrink yourself to the level of the people who created it. But when you continue to elevate, without apology, without distraction, you create a distance so wide that their voices can't reach you. It's like climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the smaller the voices below sound. So ask yourself, are you feeding the gossip by engaging with it, or are you starving it by focusing on your own growth? Which matters more to you, proving them wrong or making their opinions irrelevant? Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And here your reaction should be progress. Let your career, your relationships, your health, your character be the undeniable proof that no rumor could stop you. That's what it means to elevate while they speculate. And yes, it will hurt at times. We're human. Words sting. Lies cut deep. But remind yourself, their energy is being wasted on you because they have none left for themselves. That alone is proof that you're moving while they're stuck. There's a beautiful paradox here. Nothing suffocates a hateful person more than your success. Not because you flaunt it, not because you rub it in their face, but because every step you take forward is living proof that their words never had power. They expected you to crumble. They expected their gossip to hold you down. Instead, you rose so far above it that they can't even reach you anymore. So the next time you hear whispers about your name, don't waste your energy trying to silence them. Don't bend yourself trying to prove or explain. Instead, double down on your growth. Work harder. Build deeper. Live better. Because eventually, the speculation will collapse under the undeniable truth of your results. Let them talk. While they waste their breath, you conserve yours for action. While they stand still, you move. While they rot in rumor, you rise in results. And that is how you elevate while they speculate. There's a dangerous temptation many of us face after being wronged. The urge to go back. To return to the people who doubted us. The ones who dismissed us. The ones who betrayed us. Just to prove we were right all along. Maybe you felt it. That fire inside that says, I'll show them. I'll make them regret underestimating me. But here's the problem. If they couldn't see your worth when you were right in front of them, do you really think your return will open their eyes? Most of the time, going back doesn't heal the wound. It just rips it open again. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once said, "If someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself against their accusations, but say, 'He surely does not know about my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these.'" It's a reminder that you don't need to campaign for people to understand you. Your absence speaks louder than any words ever could. Think about it. Absence is haunting. It lingers longer than explanations. It echoes louder than insults. Words fade quickly, but silence forces people to sit with themselves. They replay the conversations. They imagine scenarios. They invent stories in their head just to fill the space you left behind. And here's the beauty. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't go back. You didn't give them access again. You didn't hand them another chance to diminish you. You simply walked away, fully, calmly, without the need to explain. That silence is your victory. I once heard the story of a soldier who, after years of betrayal during a brutal war, chose not to retaliate. He didn't return to the battlefield to prove his strength. Instead, he built his home on higher ground. His enemies waited for years, expecting him to come back, to strike, to demand recognition, but he never did. Decades later, while they were still trapped in feuds and bitterness, his home stood tall, unshaken, untouchable. That is the essence of Stoic power, rising so high above the noise that you never need to return. Marcus Aurelius said it plainly, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When you refuse to circle back, you break the cycle. You don't waste your dignity teaching lessons to people who have already chosen blindness. You live your lesson, and that alone is enough. But I know the struggle. Maybe you've had a breakup where every part of you wanted to show your ex how much better off you are now. Or maybe you left a toxic job and imagined walking back in one day with proof of your success. That desire is human, but it's also a trap, because every step you take back into that old battlefield costs you energy, costs you dignity, and costs you peace. Walking away, on the other hand, builds something much more valuable: clarity. You don't need to spend your future proving your past. You don't need to fight old battles. You can take that energy and invest it into building a new life, one where their opinion no longer matters. So here's the challenge I'll give you. The next time you feel the pull to return, stop. Ask yourself, is this about growth, or is this about proving something? If it's about proving, walk away. Let your life speak. Because the truth is, people rarely regret losing someone until that person never comes back. Your absence will say everything that needs to be said. It's the loudest answer you'll ever give, and it's the one they'll never forget. So never return to prove a point. Don't lower yourself to their battlefield. Choose the higher ground. Build your life there, and let your silence echo louder than any lecture ever could. And if this truth resonates with you, if you're tired of wasting your strength on battles you've already outgrown, remember this: the Stoic way is not about proving, it's about becoming. And if you want to keep walking this path with me, learning how to turn silence, discipline, and inner peace into unshakable strength, then don't just watch. Join the journey. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and let's continue building a life that no enemy, no rumor, no betrayal can ever touch. Because sometimes the most powerful step you can take isn't forward or backward, it's simply away. There's a brutal truth most people ignore: access is power. Whoever can reach you, whoever can stir your emotions, interrupt your peace, or pull your thoughts in their direction, has influence over you. And sometimes, that influence belongs to the very people who least deserve it. Think about it. How many times have you let someone's message ruin your whole day? One text, one look, one careless comment, and suddenly, your peace is gone. That's what access does. It gives them the ability to pull strings in your life like a puppeteer. And here's the mistake most people make. They let harmful people keep that access long after they've shown their true colors, out of habit, out of guilt, out of some misplaced loyalty. They leave the door half open, hoping for recognition, reconciliation, or maybe just closure. But that half-open door is all it takes for the enemy to walk back in and start the cycle all over again. The Stoics knew better. They understood that detachment isn't coldness, it's discipline. It's the decision to cut off access to those who've already proven they cannot be trusted with your vulnerability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do." In other words, peace isn't found in convincing others of your worth. Peace comes from closing the doors that let their noise in. And Seneca, with his sharp wisdom, said, "If evil be spoken of you and it be true, correct yourself. If it be a lie, laugh at it." Notice what he's saying. If there's truth in their words, use it to grow. If it's a lie, don't waste a second defending yourself. Don't even let it inside your mind. That's what starving access really means. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you've got a garden, your mind, your peace, your strength. Every time you let someone toxic in, you're giving them the privilege of walking through that garden. Some will water your flowers, but others, they'll trample the plants, scatter weeds, or even poison the soil. Would you keep letting them in just because they knock on the gate? No. You close it. You lock it. You starve their access. I've seen too many people waste years keeping those gates open, waiting for an apology that never comes, or hoping for a change that never arrives. All the while, their peace bleeds out, drop by drop. And for what? For someone who's already shown you they thrive on chaos? When you starve their access, something powerful happens. You cut the invisible cord tying your growth to their gaze. You stop performing for their approval, or reacting to their disapproval. You stop letting them feed off your energy. And in that emptiness, they're left with nothing but the echo of their own bitterness. And here's the part people often miss. Cutting off access doesn't mean you're cruel. It doesn't mean you hate them. It means you respect yourself enough not to give away your peace for free. It's not punishment. It's protection. I'll never forget a friend of mine who went through this exact lesson. He had someone in his life who, every time they spoke, would twist his words, drain his energy, and leave him doubting himself. He thought the mature thing was to keep the connection alive, to keep trying. But the day he finally closed that door, blocked the calls, stopped responding, refused to let them back in, he told me it felt like he had taken a 100-pound weight off his shoulders. It wasn't cruelty, it was clarity, and maybe you need that clarity too. Ask yourself, who in your life still has access to your peace, even though they've shown you they don't deserve it? Whose words can still shake you? Whose presence still drains you? When you find those answers, you'll also find your next step. Don't wait for them to cut the cord. Don't wait for them to change. Take your power back by closing the door yourself. Because here's the reality. Every message you ignore, every boundary you reinforce, every moment you refuse to let them into your space, that's you starving them. That's you reclaiming your power. And it's not about them anymore. It's about you choosing peace over poison. So starve their access. Shut the door gently but firmly, and watch what happens when you stop feeding them with your attention. Their power fades, their grip loosens, and you finally stand free. If this truth resonates with you, if you're ready to stop giving harmful people the keys to your peace, then I invite you to go even deeper with me. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and let's keep building a fortress of strength together, brick by brick. Because in the end, the strongest version of you isn't the one who fights every battle. It's the one who decides who never even gets through the gate. Here's something many people don't realize until it's too late. The people around you shape the quality of your life far more than your circumstances ever will. Who you let into your circle, the voices you hear, the energy you absorb, the standards you normalize, will either pull you down into chaos or lift you into strength. And the harsh truth? Some people in your circle right now don't deserve to be there. The Stoics understood the weight of influence. Epictetus said it clearly. Keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. That one line is more than advice, it's a survival strategy. Because nothing exposes the irrelevance of your enemies more than replacing them with people who actually deserve your trust. Think about it. A toxic circle doesn't just keep you stagnant, it corrodes your spirit. It feeds you doubts. It whispers bitterness. It convinces you that betrayal, envy, and criticism are normal. And once you believe that's normal, you stop aiming higher. But when you upgrade your circle, when you surround yourself with people who bring peace, loyalty, and clarity, you realize just how small your old world was. The right circle makes the wrong one disappear. Their absence no longer feels like loss. It feels like cleansing. I once knew a man who stayed years too long in a group of friends who constantly mocked him, dismissed his dreams, and dragged him into their drama. He tolerated it because he thought being alone would be worse. But the day he finally cut ties and started surrounding himself with people who supported his growth, everything changed. He started a business. He took care of his health. He carried himself differently. And the funny thing? The people who used to mock him were suddenly irrelevant. Their opinions no longer mattered because he had upgraded his circle, and with it, his entire life. That's the hidden power of this Stoic principle. When you replace the wrong people with the right ones, your enemies lose their grip on you without you ever lifting a finger. Their criticism doesn't sting. Their betrayal doesn't haunt you. Their absence doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you because now you're surrounded by loyalty instead of envy. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." Extend that wisdom to the people you keep around you. If your circle is full of bitterness, eventually that color bleeds into you. But if your circle is full of strength and sincerity, your own strength multiplies. Now let's get practical. How do you know it's time to upgrade your circle? Ask yourself a few hard questions. Do the people around me encourage my growth, or do they mock it? Do they inspire me to be disciplined, or do they tempt me to waste my time? Do I feel lighter or heavier after spending time with them? Your answers reveal your circle, and if you don't like the answers, then it's time to upgrade. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, it will feel lonely at first, but loneliness with integrity is far better than companionship with betrayal. Because here's the paradox. Once you raise your standards, once you stop tolerating the wrong people, you begin to attract the right ones. People who respect your boundaries. People who celebrate your growth instead of fearing it. People who stand by you in storms instead of causing them. And when that happens, when you're finally surrounded by the right voices, you'll look back and realize something profound. Those who betrayed you, those who envied you, those who whispered against you, they were never necessary to your story. They were just noise. And now that you've upgraded your circle, the noise is gone. So if you've been holding on to toxic people out of fear of being alone, let this be your reminder. You deserve better. Your peace deserves better. And the only way to make space for the right circle is to clear out the wrong one. Upgrade your circle, and you upgrade your life. And if this truth speaks to you, if you're ready to step away from the noise and step into a circle of strength, then I invite you to walk this Stoic path with me. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and join a community of people who are striving for clarity, discipline, and peace. Because when you sit among the sincere and the strong, your own strength multiplies. That's the power of choosing wisely who sits at your table. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to poke at you not because they're strong, but because they're desperate? They prod, they provoke, they stir the pot, all for one reason: to see you lose control. Their greatest hope isn't to defeat you with facts or strength. Their greatest hope is that you'll explode, scream, or crumble. Because the moment you do, they get to point the finger and say, "See, I was right about them all along." But here's where Stoicism changes everything. The Stoic weapon isn't rage, it's restraint. When you master the art of underreaction, you rob your enemies of the only weapon they have, your reaction. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the essence of underreaction. It's not weakness, it's strategy. It's the discipline to stay steady while others are trying to shake you. Imagine this. Someone insults you in public. Everyone expects you to snap back, to defend yourself, to turn the moment into a scene. But instead, you remain calm. You breathe. You respond with stillness, maybe even with silence. Suddenly, their theater collapses. They have no audience, no applause, no stage worth performing on. They suffocate in the silence while you walk away untouched. I once knew a man whose reputation was attacked in front of his entire community. Everyone expected him to lash out, to fight back loudly to prove himself. But he didn't. He kept working. He kept showing up. He let his results speak louder than his anger ever could. And within a year, every false word spoken about him had dissolved into irrelevance. His silence, his calm, had done more damage than any rebuttal. That's the mastery of underreaction. It turns what was meant to destroy you into fuel for your quiet victory. The truth is, anger feeds your enemy. Calmness starves them. When someone pushes and pushes, hoping to see you break, and instead you stay unmoved, their energy turns back on them. They unravel not because you fought harder, but because you refused to fight at all. Think of it like this. They expected fire, but you gave them frost. And nothing freezes an enemy faster than realizing they can't move you. Now, this doesn't mean you become passive or weak. Underreaction isn't about ignoring injustice. It's about choosing your battles with wisdom. It's about refusing to hand your emotional control to someone who doesn't deserve it. Ask yourself, how many times have you regretted reacting too quickly? How many times have you looked back and thought, if I had just stayed calm, I would have kept the upper hand? That regret is proof of why underreaction matters. It's not about denying your feelings. It's about channeling them into something stronger than rage. Self-mastery. The enemy wants chaos. They want drama. They want a show. But when you master the art of underreaction, you give them none of it. You leave them with an empty stage, while you carry your dignity untouched. And here's the paradox. People will respect you more for what you don't say than for what you do. Anyone can shout. Anyone can argue, but very few can stay calm under fire. That calmness, that's true power. So the next time someone tries to bait you, remember this. Your silence is not weakness. Your calm is not surrender. It's strategy. It's the mark of someone who knows their value doesn't need defending. And if this message speaks to you, If you're ready to master the kind of calm that no insult, no rumor, no provocation can break, then don't just stop here. Join me on the journey. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and step into a community where we turn silence into strength and calm into power. Because when you stop reacting, you stop being controlled. And when you stop being controlled, you become untouchable. That's the art of underreaction, and it's one of the sharpest Stoic weapons you'll ever carry. There comes a moment when the greatest answer you can give to your enemies isn't a word, a defense, or even silence. It's a life so expansive, so elevated, that they simply can't reach you anymore. Hateful people thrive on pulling you into the mud. They want to know you're stuck at their level, wrestling with the same bitterness, chained to the same drama. But what happens when you stop wrestling altogether? When instead of reacting, you rise? Their power dissolves. The Stoic path teaches us that success and growth are the ultimate forms of quiet revenge. You don't flaunt it, you don't announce it, you just keep building, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, until the distance between who you are and who they still are becomes unbridgeable. Think about it. Nothing suffocates envy more than watching someone thrive without you. While they waste energy gossiping, you're sharpening your discipline. While they linger in resentment, you're expanding into new opportunities. While they try to drag you down, you're already living on higher ground. I've seen it countless times. A man once consumed by betrayal chose not to fight back but to focus entirely on his craft. Years later, the same people who mocked him had to watch as his work reached thousands. His influence grew, and his peace remained untouched. He didn't just win, he outgrew them. And that's a victory no enemy can undo. This is what Stoic growth looks like. Not noise, not drama, but transformation. You don't just silence your enemies, you make them irrelevant. And that is the most devastating defeat of all, because it forces them to see that their hatred never held you back. So if you're carrying the weight of bitterness, let it go. Pour that energy into building the life you know you're capable of. Rise in stillness, succeed with discipline, and outgrow everything and everyone that tried to chain you. And if you want to keep walking this path of strength, peace, and unstoppable growth, then join me. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and let's rise together, quietly, steadily, far above the noise. Because the best revenge is not fighting them, it's becoming someone they could never touch. There's one Stoic weapon that confuses your enemies more than silence, more than distance, even more than success, and that's forgiveness. But not the soft, sentimental kind people talk about. Stoic forgiveness is sharp. It doesn't reopen the door. It doesn't offer a second chance. It isn't about reconciliation. It's about liberation, freeing yourself from the poison of carrying resentment. You see, when you hold on to hatred, you're the one who drinks the poison, hoping it harms the other person. Forgiveness is the antidote. It stops the poison from spreading any further into your life. But here's the part most people miss. True forgiveness is not a revolving door. It doesn't mean, I forgive you, so come back into my circle. No, forgiveness is closure. You seal the wound, you let it heal, and you move forward. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." That means you don't let their bitterness turn you bitter, their cruelty turn you cruel, or their betrayal turn you into someone small. You forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. And peace requires you to stop dragging their shadow into your present. Think about it like this. When you heal from a cut, you don't keep reopening it to prove you've moved on. You let it scar, and you protect it from further injury. That's what forgiveness does. It acknowledges the wound, then ensures it never bleeds into the rest of your life. So yes, forgive, but do it with wisdom. Release the weight, but don't hand them the keys to your peace again. They've already shown you who they are. Believe them. And if you've struggled with this, if you've confused forgiving with tolerating, let today be the moment you shift. Let forgiveness set you free while your boundaries keep you safe. If this resonates, if you're ready to master forgiveness without surrendering your strength, then join me. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and step into a life where your peace is untouchable. Because the strongest revenge is not holding on, It's moving so far beyond them that they can never reach you again. When you step back and look at this entire journey, the lesson becomes clear. The greatest victory isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, and it doesn't require you to prove anything to anyone. The greatest victory is the one that happens in silence. Think about it. Your enemies expect noise. They expect rage, arguments, defenses, and explanations. They feed on your reactions, hoping to see you stumble. But when you don't give them that satisfaction, when you stand calm, disciplined, and unshaken, you deliver a punishment they never saw coming. Because silence cuts deeper than insults. Discipline lasts longer than revenge. And growth, the kind of steady, undeniable growth that no rumor can touch, makes their hatred irrelevant. They wait for your collapse, but what they see instead is your stillness. They expect your anger, but what they get is your peace. They want to drag you down, but all they can do is watch you rise. This is the Stoic path. You don't waste your life arguing, chasing down lies, or fighting old battles. You invest that energy where it matters, building discipline, cultivating inner peace, strengthening your mind. And that investment pays off in the only way that matters. You become untouchable. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all lived in worlds full of chaos, betrayal, and enemies. Yet their wisdom endures because they understood this truth. Your power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. And that's the choice you face every day. You can hand your power to those who provoke you, or you can take it back. You can burn yourself out in battles that never end, or you can step away and build a life they can't reach. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone tries to shake your peace, remember this. Silence is not weakness, it's strength. Walking away is not surrender, it's strategy. And growth, quiet and steady, is the most devastating revenge you'll ever deliver. In the end, I want you to carry one line with you. I win in silence, the Stoic endures, he outlasts. That's the victory no enemy can take away. If this journey spoke to you, if these lessons gave you clarity or strength, then don't stop here. Join the community. Hit that like button, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and share your own experience in the comments below. Because every time you live these truths, you're not just protecting your peace, you're proving that Stoicism is alive, powerful, and unshakable in our world today. So let them talk, let them wait, let them burn out in their bitterness. While they fade, you rise. While they scream, you endure. And in the quiet strength of your discipline, you've already won.